What is up, epic gamers? I am back with another Sonic Adventure video, and today we are going to run through Sonic's story in Sonic Adventure DX as Amy to see if she can clear the levels. This run was actually really interesting, but first I want to make a big non-content related announcement that I am now engaged to the love of my life, Solder Art, who also streams on Twitch, and you should definitely check her out. It has nothing to do with the video, but I'm just really excited about it and I want to just shout it to the world. So to the 10.9% of my viewers, I'm sorry to say, you missed your chance. This gamer is officially off the market. With that said, let's jump into the video. We got our first fight against Chaos Zero, which is easy enough. Amy's hammer attack easily works here and he dies in 4 hits. So let's just move on to the first level, which was very interesting. Before we get to the good bits, let me quickly explain how Amy works in this game for those who don't know. Unlike Sonic, Amy does not have a spin dash, light speed shoes, or a homing attack, and she also moves significantly slower. She does, however, have a hammer which can not only attack enemies, but if she has enough speed, she can hammer jump and get really high, and we'll be using that move quite a lot during this challenge. Our first obstacle is the iconic whale chasing segment. Amy struggled a lot during this part. This second dash pad here causes her to bounce in the air and slow us down just enough for the whale to get us. Now we can time a jump to clear that first one fine, but then we get to this ramp. Amy in the air is a much lighter and floatier character than Sonic, so taking this ramp slows us down too much and we can't make it across before the whale gets us. I tried using her bounce hammer to just skip the ramp, but the timing of this was pretty difficult and it didn't really look like it was going to work anyway. It took a lot of attempts, but we finally figured out that if we stop ourselves as we round the corner here, we can spawn in the next whale and he'll go running off, so now we don't have to deal with him. We just have to get to that ramp with a hammer jump. There is an invisible wall preventing us from simply just cutting across the corner, so we do have to jump forward and churn as if we're taking the normal path. The jump was tricky, but with enough attempts, eventually we got it.
No way! Come on! Let's go! Yes! She can do it!
Without the whale chasing us, the rest of the level was smooth sailing and we're off to a great start as we complete Emerald Coast. The Egg Hornet was another easy and uninteresting fight, but during the cutscene, the game loads Sonic back in, but he's wearing the feather that Amy wears for her upgraded hammer, which I thought was a little silly. And there are times where Amy appears in cutscenes instead of Sonic, which does lead to some funny moments as well. Windy Valley is the next stage, and unfortunately this one is impossible. Amy can make it up to the tornado area just fine, but to progress we need to jump on these numbered pads, and Amy cannot do this. When we try, she just gets soft locked on the second pad, and this area is so vertical and there's just nothing to work with here, so we have absolutely zero chance of getting past. So I used other mods to put her to the next part to see if she can do that area at least, and it was pretty interesting because we learned that Amy bounces way higher on springs. So high, in fact, that these springs launch her way across the map, which at first makes it seem like we can't even do this part of the level, but the spring actually launches us high enough that we can fall to where we gotta go, and from here is an easy path to the finish. So the tornado area is the only thing stopping us from beating this level, sadly. Next up, we got Casinopolis, and like the Big the Cat challenge video that we did, Amy can simply farm rings by walking in the pinball machine since she has no spin dash. And once we get enough rings, a simple hammer bounce gets us to the emerald. Something really funny happened during the next cutscene, however, and I'm just gonna play a clip from the Twitch stream.
Why did Amy just fucking whack tails? What was that?
Next up, we got Ice Cap. Right at the start, we have a spring that almost looks like it can get us up to this rocket to skip the first area, but it does not. Luckily though, Amy can make it through the first area just fine. She can't grab these icicles, which was expected, but with a couple of tricky hammer jumps, we can make it up to the rocket to the next area, which I thought was going to be a problem because normally Sonic needs to jump on these numbered pads to make the big icicle fall and open a door to move on. But surprisingly, we can just clip through this door, which leads us to the snowboarding part, and again, I thought this would be impossible as other characters usually soft lock the game here, but I was not prepared for what happened next. Come on, Amy, you can snowboard, right? You got this? Nope, she does not.
Oh, but she can run! She doesn't soft lock! Holy shit, she's going! Yo, she's outrunning the avalanche! No way, Amy!
Running down this snowboarding area was so fun. We can just use her hammer jump and make some really crazy high jumps. It was just so satisfying to play through, and we made it to the end with no issues. So surprisingly, Ice Cap is also possible. And this wasn't even the best discovery in this challenge. We got a lot more coming up. But before that, we got 2 more boss fights, Knuckles and Chaos 4. Both are easy and not interesting, so we're going to move on to the next level, which is Twinkle Park. And the cutscene was so funny because we actually got 2 Amy's, which was really silly. The driving part works fine, and I gotta ask you guys to settle the debate for me because I wanted the Baja Blast car, which I think is the sky blue one, but my girlfriend, my fiance says the light green one is the more Baja Blast color. So leave a comment and settle the debate. Which one of these cars is more Baja Blast colored? And if you don't like Baja Blast, unsubscribe from my channel right now because you're a fake ass gamer if you don't drink Baja Blast. Twinkle Park doesn't give us any trouble. The springs launch us pretty high so we can actually skip chunks of the level. We do have a small problem at the end, which is Amy not being able to jump on the capsule to finish the level, but we just hammer jump our way up there. Speed Highway is next, and she has no problems here. She doesn't move very fast, but she does get a good boost from the dash pad, so she doesn't get stuck in this area, unlike Big the Cat. And she can't homing attack these enemies, but there's an alternate path that can get us to the wall running section, which is again broken without Sonic. We're actually able to go pretty far out of bounds and slowly fall down to the next area, and it takes a long time to slowly fall down, but we can take in the view of the level from out of bounds. A quick stroll through the city and we beat the level. Red Mountain is next, and she doesn't have many issues scaling the mountain using the springs. We get to this part where Sonic normally needs to use homing attacks to cross this gap. I tried using her hammer bounce, but it didn't make it across. But to my surprise, there's actually a whole area down here with a dash pad that gets us up there. I have never, in my 20 years of playing this game, seen this part of the level. I've never failed the homing attacks. So this is pretty interesting to me. I really love all these little details that we learn about during these challenges. The rest of the level is smooth sailing, so we clear it and move on to Sky Deck. Amy can't grab these pylons, but she's small enough that we can just carefully move around them. The game does do some weird stuff. It kind of felt like we were sort of glued to them, and I had to fight the controller a little bit to get her to jump off, but we were able to progress. There were a few wonky areas where Amy just goes all over the place, but eventually we were able to make it to the end of the first part of the level. We gotta carefully dodge these spiky balls, which is harder because she climbs slower than Sonic, and when we get up there, we gotta do a hammer jump across the gap where we land on the bottom level, but luckily there are ladders we can use to climb back up, and Amy is just barely fast enough to dodge these cannons. We make it through to the end of the level with no issues, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, every time I do this level, I just spin dash jump up to the end. I haven't played the level as intended since I was a little kid playing this game on the Dreamcast, and I'm not about to start now, so I found a way to cheese this level as Amy by hammer jumping onto this area and then clipping through the ceiling. Call me a cheater, but if it works, so we're marking this one off as a win. We beat Gamma super easy, and after the fight's done, we get another double Amy moment and a funny cutscene of Amy talking with Sonic's voice.
If I'm to continue, I need to change this ship back to its original shape.
The final Chaos fight doesn't give us any trouble either. Amy can interact with these ice bombs and throw them just like Sonic can, which I gotta ask, why does Eggman even give us these? If he just stayed out of the fight, we would have no way of winning. Isn't this guy supposed to be a genius? The next level is Lost World, and I was shocked at the result of this one. I knew she wouldn't have any issues for the most part, and I was right up until we get to this area here. This room has some platforming that we gotta do in the dark, and Amy can interact with these lights and mirrors like Sonic can, but at the end we have a trail of rings that Sonic would normally need to use the light speed shoes to run across, and obviously we can't do that as Amy. And the gap is way too far to simply hammer bounce across. It looks impossible, but I wasn't about to give up just yet. I was using Tails to explore the room to see if there was anything that we can do, and I discovered that there are pillars here which are actually solid so we can stand on them, but they're just barely out of reach for Amy's hammer bounce. But if we can get up there somehow, this might be possible. And another fun discovery, these mirrors are not solid and the platforms holding them are just a few inches taller, and that tiny bit of height is enough for us to perform a very well-timed hammer jump to get on top of the pillar. The camera does get really wonky up here, and building up enough speed to do another hammer jump on this tiny area would be pretty difficult, so we need to chain hammer jumps without stopping, and I'll let this next clip from the stream speak for itself. Holy shit! Let's go! Yo, we made it! Holy shit, no way! I cannot believe we just did that!
It might be possible. Don't ever tell me it's impossible. Where there's a will, there's a way. We're gonna make it happen.
There is one other light speed dash that we would normally need to get into this hole in the wall here, but if we just jump from here, we can make it in without needing to do that. And with that, Lost World is possible with Amy. I would have never guessed this level was possible. It was such a fun challenge. And the final level has even more exciting discoveries. Amy can make it through the first part of this level just fine. This area here has some tricky hammer jumps that we have to time with the moving platforms. I missed one and died, but I realized I could take control of Amy for a few seconds after hitting the kill barrier, and I can actually see the next checkpoint. I theorized that maybe we can hit that checkpoint before we respawn, and then once we die, we'll respawn there and sort of cheese the area. After spending way too much time trying this, we actually did it and it worked. We respawned right in the next area. Mind you, this was entirely unnecessary. It's actually easier just to do it the normal way, even with Amy. But where's the fun in that? I know you guys want to watch me struggle for hours trying to figure out creative ways to beat these levels, so we did it for the content. And speaking of difficult challenges, we have one final obstacle to clear at the very end of this level. It's another ring trail that we cannot lightspeed dash across. We do have these very narrow platforms that are solid, and I knew if we can get a hammer bounce off one of them, we could probably clear the gap. And this was annoying because every time I failed, I needed to kill all the enemies in this room again, otherwise they're going to interrupt my very difficult jump that I need to make. This took a long time, and I can see that it's very possible. The floor is solid, Amy can bounce off of it, I know that it's possible, but I can't just say it's possible and move on. I gotta actually do it for the video, so after dozens of deaths, I finally pulled it off.
Yeah! We did it! Let's go! No shot! We did it! Let's go! That's the one! It's possible! We did it! Amy is so goated in this game! No way! She's beating every level! Man. I'm surprised too, Eggman! I'm very surprised!
As a quick side note, during one of my attempts, this enemy launched me back pretty far. It might be possible to get this guy to bounce you over there instead, but I couldn't figure out how to make him do it consistently, so that might just take a lot of luck. Our final boss of this challenge is the Egg Viper, which I was thinking surely was impossible as Amy does not have a homing attack, but once again she proves me wrong as she can actually bounce off these targets with her hammer attack. The timing is pretty tight, but we can hit Eggman right before he fires his attack, and we bounce high enough to make it to the other platforms. Getting on top of the spinning needles is tricky during the second phase of the fight, but we can get to him by running beneath him and then hammer jumping right up to him. Getting on the tops is possible as well, it's just a tricky jump. Getting on these tops is possible as well, it's just a tricky jump, and on Eggman's final phase, he starts breaking platforms each time you fail to attack him, so we only have a few attempts, and we beat him with exactly 2 platforms left, which is the minimum required, because after you beat him, he destroys one final platform. And with that, our challenge comes to an end. Amy absolutely destroyed this run. We beat every boss and all but one level. If it wasn't for this tornado part, she could beat the entire story. But despite that, this was such a blast doing this challenge. We learned so many creative ways to beat the levels, and I had a lot of fun on this run. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I want to ask you guys, what character should I do between Knuckles and Gamma? I probably won't do Tails. I feel like every single level is going to be just too easy with him. So unless you guys want to see him just fly through every level, I think the next challenge should be Knuckles or Gamma. So leave a comment down below, tell me which one we should do next. And if you want to see these challenges done live, follow me on my Twitch channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay epic, gamers.